I would like to call this meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, July 16, 2014. It is now 7:04. Our invocation tonight will be given by our city manager, Henrietta Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. If we could bow our heads in prayer. Oh, dear Father, we thank you for this opportunity to get together to meet. We ask you for your guidance. We thank you, O Lord, for the sacrifices that you've made for us. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, who died on the cross, so that we may have the freedom and privileges that we enjoy here in this wonderful and great country. We ask that you to bless those who have rested us, to think about those who are sick and children. And we thank you right now, dear Father, for the blessings that you're about to receive. Thank you so much. Amen.
We have an established quorum, Councilwoman Castillo, Councilman Nieto, and Councilman Guerrero. Now we will please stand for the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance and Texas flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to entertain any citizens' comments. Okay, then we're going to go on to 1A, consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes for council workshop on June 12, 2014.
I move to accept the workshop meeting minutes of Thursday, June 12th.
Okay, I have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Castillo, second by Councilman Guerrero. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-2. Okay, now we're going to go on to item 1B, consideration and action to approve meeting minutes for council meeting on June the 12th.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from June 12th.
Okay, I have a motion. Councilman Guerrero, may I have a second?
I second it.
Second by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Now we're going to go on to item 1C, consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes for council meeting on June 26th.
Mayor, I have a question on these minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The evaluations that were given by other council members, is this all that was able to be captured from the minutes on video? What's in the minutes, or is it a summary?
Or which one is supposed to be?
For all of the comments that were made by the other council members, other than mine, because mine was typed up and I handed it in.
No, that was almost verbatim what everybody said. What most everybody said, it was just,
Thank you. Then I move to approve the meeting minutes for council meeting on June the 26th.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Castillo. May I have a second? Second by Councilman Nieto. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now we're gonna go on to item 2A. The Floresville Peanut Festival Association to request street closures for the 70th Annual Floresville Peanut Festival. Mrs. Bates?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here on behalf of the Floresville Peanut Festival Association to request the street closures for the 70th Annual Floresville Peanut Festival. Do you have a copy? Do you need me to read them out loud? C Street from the east side of the street, including middle of the street parking, Tuesday, October 7th, starting at 2 p.m. through Tuesday, October 7th at 7 p.m. That would be for the Goober Gang. C Street from 4th Street to 2nd Street, Wednesday, October 8th, starting at 6 p.m. through Monday, October 13th at 12 a.m. midnight. 3rd Street from D Street to B Street, Friday, October 10th, starting at 12 p.m. noon through Sunday, October 12th at 7 a.m. C Street from 4th Street to 2nd Street, Friday, October 10th, starting at 4 p.m. through Sunday, October 12th at 12 p.m. noon. C Street and 4th Street intersection, Saturday, October 11th, starting at 9 a.m. through 2 p.m. 2nd Street from B Street to C Street, C Street from 2nd Street to 3rd Street, and 3rd Street from C Street to B Street. Friday, October 10th, starting at 4 p.m. for the Kitty Parade. C Street from the east side of the street, including middle of the street parking, Friday, October 10th, starting at 12 a.m. through Sunday, October 12th at 7 a.m.
Ms. Pettis, have the businesses along the way been contacted by all?
They usually are, generally the week before we start handing out flyers. It's the same businesses, so they're all aware of the pictures.
Somebody have any questions? Is there any citizen comments on this? Okay, if not, I'm going to go on to item 3A, which is consideration and action to approve street closure times and dates for the 70th Annual Floresville Peanut Festival. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the street closure times and dates for the 7th Annual Floresville Peanut Festival.
I second it.
I have a motion by Councilman Nieto, second by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next item is item 2B, which is a presentation of the court. They were presented last week and we didn't have a quorum. And then now we're going to go on to item 2C, Community Services LLC Consulting Services Agreement for the sales tax, hotel motel tax audit. Ms. Turner?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, one of the things that the comptroller and Connie and I have been working on is actually looking at the revenue in reference to that. We're looking at different services. We've reached out and had a recommendation from Pleasanton in reference to a company they use, and we have a representative here that can present to you about all that they do. They can focus on hotel motel tax as well as sales tax in reference to auditing to assure us that we're receiving the funding that we have. You had a draft in your original packet, and we had the attorney to look at it to tweak it, and then we have submitted to you one that has language that the attorney wanted to add to it. They submitted and advised that you should have before you. We have a representative here that can give you an overview of what they do, and you can ask whatever questions you have of myself, Connie, our comptroller, or representative. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ted Campbell, and I am a client service manager and senior auditor for Muni Services LLC. I've been with the company for 10 years. We currently have about 124 clients in Texas where we assist cities with revenue enhancement. We only work with municipalities. We do not represent any private enterprises or other entities other than municipalities. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Texas Municipal League since we got here in Texas almost 20 years ago. The two items that your city is addressing are the two top items that we provide for cities in Texas: sales tax assistance and hotel occupancy tax assistance. In your contract that you have before you, the first part deals with sales tax. There's There's two parts to the sales tax agreement. One is we work 24/7 to help your city find sales tax revenue that should be directed to the city that might be directed to other jurisdictions. What we do is we take your confidential data from the comptroller and we look at it at least once a quarter. And if there's corrections that need to be made, for instance, it could be a business that is paying they're all paying sales tax, they're paying sales tax to the wrong jurisdiction, we can make those corrections. We're allowed to go back 4 years. Those dollars are put into your account, and the business is no difference. It doesn't change the way they do things. Just it was a mistake, or it could be a situation where they're actually in your city and they're paying sales tax to other communities when those sales tax dollars should be earned by your city and not anyone else. We'll make those corrections as well. We recently had, we worked over 2 years with the comptroller on an issue relating to how AT&T was distributing their sales tax dollars. And those cities, virtually most of the clients that I represent in Texas, all got a significant revenue boost just from that one finding. I know McAllen got close to $30,000. Corpus Christi got about $48,000. Where I'm from, Tyler, we got a $25,000 sales tax revenue enhancement from that decision. So we look at all issues all the time, and we help your city find money. The clients that are in your part of Texas that we represent for sales tax would include Pleasanton, Live Oak, Balcony Heights. We do work for the San Antonio Transit Authority, McAllen, Eagle Pass, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Port Lavaca. We have a lot of clients in this part of the state, and the list continues to grow because we work hard at it. We have a good reputation. The other part of sales tax is, you have sales tax that come in, and what I hear from cities, even the smallest of cities, my smallest client is a client outside of Athens called Gun Barrel City, for real. And it's a very small town. And I wondered why he would want our sales tax analysis. He said, Ted, I couldn't afford to pay someone on staff to do the work that y'all do for us to analyze sales tax. We take the data that you get from the comptroller and we put it in a format where your city can use it and understand it and digest everything that's going on in your community. And we can go back. The analysis is a 4-year update. Every quarter they get this analysis. And every month they get monthly cash reports that tell your city's finance staff and your city manager what happened in your city just the previous month before. And those cash reports and this analysis and the forecast that we provide your city helps you plan your budgets with some certainty, helps you understand not just sales tax overall, but it breaks it down into economic segments, it breaks it down into comparative segments. It's a very useful tool that once cities get involved with, they use it like their Bible for sales tax. It's a very good tool. And for the dollars that you spend, you couldn't pay someone on your staff to do it. I mean, we have so many clients, you're buying down the cost and the labor that we put into this report. The second part of your contract deals with hotel tax. The only tax in Texas that a city is allowed to collect, sales tax, as you know, goes to the state, and the state sends you your share, is the hotel tax. And in other states, there are cities that collect a lot of different types of taxes. In California, I mean, we work with cities in California, they collect, you just name any kind of tax. In Louisiana, cities actually collect sales tax, not the state. But in Texas, the one tax that your city collects and is able to audit to make sure that those individuals are doing it correctly is the hotel tax. And that is truly the one area where Muni Services has helped cities, large and small, find revenue and ensure that all of the lodging providers in your community are complying with your local ordinance and with state law. And we do a lot of half of what we do when we do audit is we train, because it's important that if there's errors being made and we're able to go back 4 years and look at their books, we want to make sure that those errors are corrected. So going forward, the city increases its revenue by the fact that the hotels are doing it properly. In Pleasanton, we've been there a little over a year. We've improved their hot tax revenue by roughly $160,000. In Port Lavaca, we did 11 audits in 2013. Out of those 11 audits, 7 of them got gold stars. We're not out to pick on your lodging providers. They did it, they're doing it right. We're going to make sure that they continue to do it right. But the other 4 providers, we netted the city $242,000 in taxes that were never paid, or taxes that were, just different. There's a lot of different reasons why revenue can be found through an audit, as you know. And all those dollars have been collected, because part of the process of what we do with the city is we not just do the audits, we follow up with the analysis. We provide your city a complete report of everything that we do with backup support. Our backup support is so complete and thorough that the comptroller now asks us to provide this to them, because if, and it's in your contract as an option, if the findings are $2,000 or more, the comptroller wants their 6%, and they will send your city a 20% finder's fee based on our audit reports. And it's something that we worked out with them about 4 years ago. And so it's just additional revenue you can get from our audits. In other words, the state is going to take our audits as their audits, and they're going to use it and collect what's owed to the state. So again, not only do we audit, we want to make sure your city is able to collect. We very rarely have a situation where the city has problems with collecting. We will work with you to help anyone that might need a payment plan or any other issues post-audit, but we pride ourselves in making this a full-time service for you, so you get the benefit of every audit that we conduct. The second part of the hotel contract that you have is probably the most effective, and it's the least costly. It's full administration. And your city has asked us to include this in your agreement. It's what Pleasanton has. All of the new cities, Port Lavaca has it now, Corpus has it, South Padre Island. We administer 380 properties for South Padre Island. What administration means is that you have asked us as a third party to do actual collections of your hotel taxes each month or each quarter. We send out the tax forms, we communicate with the lodging providers, we offer online file and payment of taxes, which is very useful and very user-friendly to the lodging providers. They love that aspect of it. We make the phone calls when there's non-payment. We send out the late notices. We assess the penalties and interest. We do all of this for the city 24/7. And one important part of it is it keeps people up to date. It makes sure that everyone is not falling behind. We had situations in some cities, you'd have a hotel that would be 6 months behind, then they would catch up, then they would fall 9 months behind. Well, with our administration, the goal is to keep them current throughout the year. This cost for this, for your city, is only $150 a year per property, not per month, per property. The reason why we're able to offer that at such a low cost, because not only in Texas do we have most of our clients using this service, but we provide this type of administration in the 22 states that we serve throughout the country, not just for hotel taxes. In some cities, we actually do the collection for business license taxes, for other types of taxes and fees. So we have an entire building dedicated to doing nothing but administration type services for cities. So that cost is driven down to where, again, I've had cities say, you take the number of hotels you have and multiply it times 150, you couldn't pay someone on your staff to do the services that we offer. Because not only do we administer the tax, we provide your city some detailed reports that they're going to get access to online each and every month that details reconciliation, details history, of how that property has paid their taxes, the revenue, any types of bumps. You know, when you have a huge festival, how has that affected your hotel revenue? All those types of reports are going to be available for analysis along with this service. And I can answer any questions. I know I gave you a lot to digest.
And I also would like to add something. The reason why I put Pleasanton, and I wanted to get to understand or see what they were doing at that city in regards to motel and hotel taxes, is because I was getting phone calls and emails from corporations that are booking the lodging for the oil company, but they wanted to send the motel and hotel taxes directly to us. When we pull out a report out of the comptroller's office, there was a hotel here in Floresville that has reported for that quarter $1,000 and some in hotel taxes. That's impossible. That means that these companies are not paying the hotel the taxes, and who knows how many are out there that are not contacting us. So we're not sure that we're getting all the hotel and motel tax.
The $150 that you mentioned, is that just part of the hotel motel tax? Because I noticed you got a different fee here for the other services.
Right, the audits have a fixed fee that's in one part of your contract. The $150 is for the administration of the tax. The $150 is for us doing the collections, the remittance. And again, we don't hold those hotel dollars. When a hotel pays us, it goes into your account within the next business day. And then there's the audit fee, and then the city chooses how many audits they want to do per year.
Yeah, like for example, the first batch, if we want to do the lowest tax collection of the hotels, those are the first ones that we want to trigger. Because we want to know why these specific hotels only paying $1,000 and some dollars to the comptroller on occupancy tax. So those are the ones that we want to go ahead and target. And that's when the $1,773 comes in place. And it's per audit.
I'm sorry, sir, what was your name again?
Ted Campbell, K-A-M-B-L.
Mr. Campbell, so during your audit, do you audit as far as like your 30-day exemptions on the hotel tax?
Yes, sir, we did. In this part of the state, because of the Eagle Ford shale, is that what it's called? Eagle Ford, there's a huge issue with Pleasanton, and it's a growing issue, not just in this part of the state, but in other parts of the state, we have increased oil and gas activity. We have a lot of folks that are basically living in the hotels on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and there's a lot of issues where there's errors being made, and that's, part of the issue in Port Lavaca was the 30-day exemption errors, where you had guests that were staying and paying weekly, and the owner was exempting them from the taxes, but they had not stayed a full 30 days. Or they'd stayed 2 weeks and check out and come back in. So we had to correct those errors, and under the law, you have to adhere to certain procedures if you want to be tax exempt. We found situations where hotels actually collect the taxes from the guests and then turn around and claim that they're tax exempt. Can't do that either for obvious reasons. That's wrong. So we work to make sure that these corrections are made. If there's an assessment that is owed by that property, we have to document that, and we do that. We look at everything. We even look at housekeeping records. We want to make sure that everyone, and those that are playing by the rules, they want everyone on a level playing field. Because if I own a hotel on one side of the interstate and I'm doing things right, I don't want that guest to go, well, I can go across the street and get a better deal because he's not going to charge me taxes. Well, that's not fair to me, and I'm trying to adhere to the law and to your ordinance. So you know, we're business friendly. You know, when we leave the property, they shake our hands, they understand what the problems are. We rarely have a situation, they even sign a form agreeing to our findings. We think that's very important, and the comptroller was kind of startled that we actually had that form that they signed, that they said, yes, this is the errors that we made, and, you know, we will correct it.
What's the process on the errors? Then you report it back to the comptroller, and then they return, bill
Well,
the hotel for that?
the
or you
most
send it to
important revenues that we report to the city, and then we prepare the letters and everything for the city to send the property, give them 30 days to take care of what they owe. If in your contract, if you opt, there's a part that you sign to opt in for us to do your state reporting, then we will send those same types of reports to the comptroller. And then when the comptroller does their work, once they collect, they'll send your city a 20% finder's fee. In other words, you save the state the money and the time, you pay for the audit. The state is saying, we're gonna bonus you part of what we're getting because you did the work. You paid for the audit, we're gonna bonus you 20%.
Okay, so I remember correctly, pretty much the only thing the state comptroller does is they send you that form at the end of the month, you fill it out, and as far as the taxes, and then what was exempt, and then that's it. I don't think they audit you after that as far as an individual hotel, correct?
There's flags, I'm sorry, that the comptroller looks at, and for example, that one hotel that I mentioned, that we had $1,000 reported, eventually, if that trend continues, that hotel is gonna get audited by the state. So they do what we do. We gotta go ahead and see where the problem is, and that's where the audits are gonna be conducted.
And that's what I'm saying, if they're playing the system and they don't make it that obvious, I mean, there's
Right.
ways around it where they, like I said, all they have to do, it's on an honor system, they send them the form at the end of the month, and they send them the comptroller, so if no one's auditing it, I mean, then basically it's just.
They continue.
Right.
And honestly, the state has even admitted to us, if you look at the hotel tax in the entire state budget and what the comptroller has to look at, it's such a very small percentage of the overall revenue. It takes a back burner to their auditing process. They focus on alcohol, tobacco taxes, sales tax, franchise taxes, those issues. And hotel tax is way down on the bottom unless there's a big red flag, or if you hadn't paid your taxes to the state in several months, you're obviously going to come visit you. So we're doing them a service by being out there in the cities and conducting these audits on behalf of the city and the state.
What happens on these audits if you find, a hotel that's not in compliance, doesn't do their taxes right, I mean, they have 30 days to pay it, what happens if they don't pay in 30 days? I mean, what can be done to that hotel?
Well, that's when we report it to the state,
Yeah.
and then the state takes over. They'll take our audit and all the information that we have, and they'll take over.
Well, I think he's also asking about if they don't pay the city portion. We rarely, we dot our i's and cross our t's when we're on the ground. We only audit at the property. Very rarely do we go to an office somewhere, and then they'll try to say, well, my office is in Houston, or, we don't keep the records here. 99.9% of the time, the audits have to be conducted on site, because the eyes and the ears say a lot. Visiting with the folks that work there, you learn a lot. I've done audits for 10 years. You learn an enormous amount of information when you're on the ground. You're visiting with the manager and the owner. You can look and see what's going on. I can tell you a lot of stories of the audits I conducted in Houston, none of which you want to visit with tonight, about what I saw when I was on the ground at some of these lower tier type of hotels. But the city rarely has an issue collecting within that 30 days. Most of the issues that might pop up once they get a letter is they want to break it down into 6 payments. Or and the city will visit with us, and she might give me a call, what do you think? I might say, well, let them pay half now, and you can break out the rest of the year. You don't want to put the man out of business, you want to help them out. Those are the kind of issues that we deal with once they get the audit letter. If it ever comes to the point, though, and it has maybe once in the last year, the city can take legal action. And I had a judge in one city in East Texas that explained to the hotel owner before the court date, is that the first thing I'm going to do is follow the state law, and we're not gonna hear the case, we're gonna have a hearing today, but I'm not gonna settle this case probably for another 6 months. But until then, I'm gonna place a temporary restraining order on your hotel from operating because you owe the city X number of dollars in back taxes. And if you continue to operate, it'll be a $500 a day fine. He didn't go to court, came right in, and paid the full amount, and the city never had to actually take him to court. That kind of, the judge knew what he was doing. He said, well, the guy obviously is not gonna close his doors. He owes these taxes, the audit's there, it's evident. If that ever happened, we're still gonna be there to help you. It's very rare that you have to take legal action. Very rare.
Mr. Campbell, I have a couple of questions. Regarding, you mentioned several dollar amounts of revenues that had been collected for various cities, and some of them were in sales tax, the others were in hotel motel. What percent of the revenues collected does your company keep?
Okay, first of all, for hotel taxes, under state law, we are not allowed to take a percent of
So
our
it's only the $150.
Well, no, the audit costs are $1,700 apiece. It's in the first part of your contract. That's a flat fee. There's no, other than the travel and expenses are capped in your contract. We can't exceed a certain amount.
So on the other one, on the sales tax, what percent does your company keep?
35%.
Okay, so on the amounts that you quoted, is that less your percentage, or was that the full amount? There was one for 35,000, 45,000 in the beginning of the.
Oh, well, like the 48,000 that Corpus is gonna get, that is their sales tax, revenue that we will demonstrate to the city that the comptroller has placed in their account.
Does that include your
No,
percentage?
no, we follow that up with the 35%, that we would get 35% of that.
Okay, so it's all, for everyone is 35%, because I read something in the contract, now that the contract's been revised, I have not read the new one. So it's at 50%, so that is not correct?
It's never been 50%.
Okay.
Where would
I
50%?
thought I saw a 50% number on there, but, so it's 35%?
Yes, ma'am.
So 35% of total collected for that calendar year, or do you do it per basis or on sales tax?
Or per contract?
Per correction that we make.
Okay.
And it has to be put in your account. The comptroller has to direct it in your, you will see it, they will see an audited portion in their monthly cash report. Like McAllen had the audit portion, and she called immediately, she said, what is this? We showed her, we had not sent her the information, said, this is the findings. And in other words, we don't send you the invoice with 35%, so the money's in your account.
Okay. And secondly, what percentage of staff time do you need for someone to work with your company to get the information that you need?
That is a great question. Really, that is a very good question. Only upfront for sales tax, as soon as the contract is signed, I'm going to send her 2 letters to sign off on. One is to access your confidential data from the comptroller. Permission, the city is giving us permission to obtain that information. The second is a letter of introduction that they need to sign off on your letterhead, that if we ever needed to visit with the business to help them to make sure that they correct how they file their sales tax with the comptroller, that we present that letter, they know that we're working, it's a courtesy letter, that they know that we're working on behalf of your city. That is the total amount of staff time relating to sales tax that I would need from your staff. On the hotel tax part, initially what we need from your city, and sometimes it's hard to get, sometimes there's missing records, we understand that. But we try to get 4 years worth of hotel tax returns from your city. Because when we audit, we want to go back 4 years, and we do an analysis. Before we audit that hotel, we put about 30 hours into the audit before we can hit the ground. We do a full analysis. We go to the comptroller, we get 4 years worth of returns on that hotel. We have the city's returns. If they're incomplete, we can extrapolate and work with what you have. But it's important that we get those returns for those properties, because then when she selects the hotels we want to audit, We have the verified records. The hotel can't say, well, we paid this amount. Well, this is what the city has. This is literally what the city has that says what you paid and when you paid it. That's all the work the city has to do on the hotel tax part. The rest, we're not here to create any more work for anyone on your city staff. Our job is to make their job easier and more cost effective.
And the last question that I have is, I know you mentioned how well the community or the businesses respond to whatever you need for them to complete in the form of paperwork. I went into your website and there were a lot of negative responses, and I'm assuming that they were from customers. You know, like they never answer your telephone, or they're here to collect from you, don't do business with them, go directly to the city. I mean, it was all negative. I did not see one single positive remark regarding the services that are provided by Community Services.
And those are from actual hotels?
They were from customers, clients.
Municipalities?
I don't know where that,
Yeah, it's on the internet. I mean, they're comments. It's like a blog, you know, people go in and comment
Right.
on their services.
right,
And I imagine only that it would be from businesses and not from the city.
I don't know, again, we audit in 22 states, and you know what, sometimes those blogs, you get information, your competitors will put stuff out. The only thing I can stake my reputation on being with this company for 10 years, that A, we have grown our client base exponentially over the years. We continue to grow, and it's based on the work that we've done with over the 100 and something cities that we represent. I've yet to lose a client. I've never lost a client city in all the 10 years I've been here. We've been endorsed by the TML ever since I've been working for the company. I mean, we've been a TML business partner when they had that designation each and every year, and you don't get the TML business endorsement unless you meet and exceed certain very high standards of
And I
service.
understand that, but what is the business community response? I mean, we're a small community. What are our businesses going to say?
The only business, as far as sales tax, businesses wouldn't respond because they wouldn't know any correction. We do all that through the comptroller. I've never never been in a community where hotels, now obviously if a hotel owes you $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000, and have we had those? Yes, we have. Have they not been happy about owing that to the city? Yes. Were they treated fairly? Yes. Did they get an opportunity that we didn't come back and looked at additional work that they wanted us to look at? And we will work to their benefit for as long as we feel is necessary, especially with the advice and the consent of the city manager and finance director. We can't just keep going on and on and on and on. But I've never had a situation where the hotel has just been angered by the fact that, because we work on behalf of your city. We have a reputation, you have a reputation, and we take a lot of pride in the work that we do. And we wouldn't be in some of these cities, we've been in Corpus Christi probably 14 years. We do this in South Padre. This is our 4th year at South Padre. And you can call the neighboring cities and ask them, call the finance director in Live Oak or in Balcony Heights. She's now going to be a city manager here, some city close to yours. She's got a promotion from the finance director. Call the finance director in McAllen and ask her about Community Services and the work that we do. The quick response when they need information, when they need additional analysis that they might not have in her STARS report. How fast do we work to get them that information? Call the finance director in Port Lavaca. Literally, I've never had a city that small that has had that great of a hotel finance, where you could possibly have some angry hotel owners. She had one out of all of those that owed the 240. We even went back down there and revisited with that lady, went over everything with her, made an adjustment. She still wasn't totally happy, but in the end, she worked out a payment claim with the city, and all is paid. They collected it's done. And the whole audit process worked well for her. And she elected to do all the audits. She said, I'm gonna do all the audits in 1 year. And then take a 4-year break and then come back and audit after 4 years. So all I can say is, I don't know what's out there on those blogs. I'm sure you could put my name in, or anyone who's been in business for as long as, I mean, I've been in public office myself.
No,
I was on the city council and I was also a state rep. So you can imagine the things that have been told about me on certain blogs.
But what I was
People
trying to
didn't
find
agree.
are cities who do business with you in Texas, and all I saw were the
Right.
California cities. You have the 9 largest cities in California at the time, but I couldn't find anything about Texas. But
That particular website that you went to
there were
is,
several websites.
right, but the actual Muni Service website,
Right.
most of the activity you're gonna get will be based out of California, because we do have such significant presence there. I mean, not only do we have all of those large cities you're talking about, we have just tons of the smaller communities, anywhere from Palm Springs to some of the ones I wouldn't even know where they were if you asked me. I mean, here in Texas, we have Dallas, Houston, Austin Metro, San Antonio Metro, we have Corpus, Beaumont, Port Arthur, South Padre, Galveston. San Marcos is a client, and they're all happy clients. They all renew their contracts, never had an issue. If anything, they add services. I mean, Beaumont has gone from having us do strictly hotel audits to the second year adding hotel administration, the third year adding stars, and today they're finishing up a contract for us to audit their solid waste commercial haulers. So, I mean, they've been happy every step of the way, and each year they keep adding additional things. And the other thing we do is we do franchise tax audits as well for cities. We telephone, cable TV, solid waste audits. So, we do anything to help the city find money legitimately. If you're due the revenue, we can help you find that revenue.
And you're located in Texas, as I heard earlier, right? And you have a staff, or is it?
Yes, well, we have Vice President of the Central Operations, she's based out of, Lisa Broussard is based out of Houston. We have offices in Tyler, in Weatherford, in Midland, and then hers is in Houston. And we have other auditors. The Houston office has a complete floor of audit staff, and then we have 3 other auditors that live throughout the state.
Thank you.
I have a question. Okay, so what you do is you sit with our staff, we give you the information, you go out and you research it, then you bring it back for us to collect it? Because you mentioned letters that you provide to us, so we could send out to bill for
Right.
that. Is that correct?
No, for sales tax, all they do is sign off on, it takes them 5 minutes, sign off on the letters. Because we have to get a letter from the city to get your confidential sales tax information. And then from there, that's all you do with sales tax. We look at that confidential data year round. It's not just a one-time view. We look at it continuously. She's going to get audit reports, a sales tax audit report on what we do at least once a quarter, an update. If we find money, this is where we found it, this is corrections that were made. The city has to do nothing. We do all of that work with the comptroller.
So you do all the collections for us?
Correct. Well, we don't have to go out and collect the dollars. The dollars have already been collected from the entity. It was just misdirected to the wrong jurisdiction. And once we prove to the comptroller that those dollars went to this city and it should come to your city, he or she makes that correction. And then going forward, those dollars will come to you from that point forward. And if there were errors made going back 4 years, the comptroller will direct those dollars to you. In other words, if the city was getting sales tax from this business for 4 years, they weren't supposed to get it, that city's going to lose that 4 years worth of sales tax revenue through the comptroller. The city does nothing. All the city does is watch the money come in.
And the other question I have, because I'm reading 2 different amounts, what is your annual fee allocated to the city? Is it 3,500 or is it 6,000?
That's a good question. Okay, yes, in your sales tax contract, if we just did the sales tax audits for you, which is the first part, okay, it's 3,500 plus 35%. Okay? But since your contract includes stars, which is 6,000 a year, then the $3,500 for the audits is waived. Okay? Which makes your sales tax audits contingency fee only of the 35%. I'm glad you asked that question because I know it might be confusing in the contract. We have a couple of clients, very rarely do we have a client that just wants the sales tax audits and pays the 3,500 plus the 35%, because for $2,500 more, they get all of this analysis, and then the 3,500 is waived. So it makes sense to get both. Every now and then I will get a city that will just do the sales tax audit, which is okay.
And then the hotel at $1,700 per property?
Correct. Per audit. You only pay that when we do that. You only pay that when you audit. You don't pay that every year. Once you audit that property, that's it. And we do not get the final bill for that till you get the full audit report. We do not bill that in advance.
And the contract is just good for a year, and then after that, we have the option of renewing for
Yes, sir.
consecutive?
Yes, sir. Your contract is a one-year contract, and if the city does nothing, it will automatically renew for up to 3 years. If the city chooses, it'll stipulate with a 30-day written notice, the city can say, we choose not to renew, you can do that as well.
30 day or 90 day?
It says 90 days.
90 days.
I apologize.
We can change it to 30.
And what that does is that protects you with the renewal, that protects you with the pricing. So you have, if there is a price increase in any one of our services, you're locked in. But honestly, I can tell you, the city of Bryan had a automatic renewal at the end of their 3rd year of renewal. They wanted to continue to renew, and we did not go up on their price, even though the cost had gone up. It's such a good client, it's like, And then they chose an 8-year renewal. Can we, because they wanted the price locked in, said, can we do 8 years? I said, well, send it to me in writing and I'll ask Lisa for her approval. She approved it, so they're locked into the price they began paying back in like 2008. They're locked in for eight more years.
So you're giving us an idea of what we can do?
Sorry?
So you're giving us an idea of what we can do?
You can do, you can do it, you will do it. I mean, Corpus is paying what they were paying back in whenever they began. We do not, our goal is to keep you happy in the long term. And we just like Pleasanton, we want you referring us. If somebody asks you at a conference, which we're highly involved in all the conferences around Texas for finance directors and TML. We're major sponsors. People see us all the time. You need to say nice things about MuniService. It's how we've grown our business. It's how I've grown my reputation. I was just in San Marcos before I came here, and we want referrals. That's how you grow your business. As any of you know who's in business, your best marketing tool are the folks that you're serving that say nice things about you. And I would appreciate Pleasanton after just 1 year that they're spreading the word throughout the valley that we're doing good work. And I wouldn't have gotten Pleasanton if it hadn't been McAllen saying nice things. Those things help.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain citizens' comments before we take a vote.
Mayor, I think in view of the fact that we just received the revised contract, and it's the first presentation of its kind that we have heard
regional sales tax. You have some options, and I would prefer to have Mr. Brown meet with people from Pleasanton that she wants to talk with, meet with these people, and make a specific recommendation on what parts of this she would like to see us approve. Whether she wants all of it or part of it or whatever.
On those options, I always recommend, and I even with Pleasanton and even in our initial visit here, is that you don't choose any of those options for the first couple of years.
Okay.
And then you can choose later. There are other options to get additional reports that have a small additional fee to that $6,000. If you choose, you can initial those in the contract. Nothing is put there, it's not in your contract. It's only by you being proactive. There are additional reports. The GEO report is like if you had a downtown historic district and you wanted us to do a special analysis of that geographic area, we can do that. There's an extra cost to that. I've always asked cities to hold off on that before you choose that, because you make those decisions later. Once